Our next speaker, Linda Morken. Linda is on the board of directors with Vaccine Choice Canada. She's also a local chapter leader for the Weston A Price Foundation. Linda strives for collaboration between groups of like-minded folks who appreciate both the wisdom of our ancestors and the value of honest science. Her greatest hope is that our families and all the children to come may reach their full potential and thrive in health and happiness. Linda Morken, a round of applause, please. Thank you.
That feels great. Thank you. Yeah, good. Well, I'm just delighted to be here and see all your faces, unmasked and smiling. I know all of us have experienced losses of family members and friends, and it's just really hard. And we always need to be rebuilding our families, and you guys are it for me. People that make the time to come out and stand up and do this. You're my family and you're in my heart. I really appreciated what Robert said, and apologies for not being able to say his Indigenous name, or if that's the right term for what it would be. I can't pronounce it, and I'm sorry, but I loved what he said, and it ties in so beautifully with what Dr. Malthouse just said about how we are one. And I hope it ties in with what I'd like to say to you today about how I feel this has gone down, and how important it is for us to take a look at our history and think about what our ancestors and the Indigenous people of this land did for us. Yes. Or we wouldn't be here at all today, having a voice in order to object to what's going on. So if I can, I'd like to just tell you a story. It's a true story. It's about a Canadian man who was far ahead of his day. In the early 1900s, he found out that there was something seriously going wrong. He saw a sudden change in people. Terrible teeth formation, lots of cavities, poor mouth formation, poor breathing, skeletal deformities, and a severe uptake in the number of chronic diseases. In the 1920s and 30s, this started happening, and he was a researcher and a dentist, and he decided that he needed to find out what was behind this, because it was such a severe, sudden change. So he decided to take 10 years and go on a trip around the world to various countries and talk to Indigenous people and remote people, like in the Swiss Alps, that hadn't been yet subjected to the modern world, and basically hadn't been subjected to the modern world's food. And what he discovered is really profound. He discovered that there are certain elements in our food that our ancestors knew about, that we had forgotten about, and those elements were replaced by fake food. And that is in large what is wrong with a lot of people's health these days. Health Canada officially tells us to avoid saturated fat and natural fats, and instead have things like margarine and canola oil, that kind of thing, and it's not supported in science in any way. Well, this man's name was Dr. Weston Price, and he actually went all over. Like I say, he was in the Polynesian Islands, in the Swiss Alps, in Alaska, Scotland, Africa, and here on Vancouver Island. And he was welcomed by the Indigenous people, and they told him, and this was I think it was in the early 30s, why they were so healthy. They were robust, they were strong, and they had to have gotten to where they were at this point in time, back there in the 20s and 30s. So he wrote a beautiful book called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, and he's regarded as the utmost authority on ancestral wisdom around nutrition. And his findings are backed by current science, honest current science that is, and it's a huge contribution that he gave to mankind. He tells us that the elements in our food, vitamins A, D, and K especially, work in synergy, and we can't get them by popping a little pill. We can't get them by eating things separately. We have to learn to think about eating the way that nature intended and the way that we have eaten for all but the last 100 years. So I think it ties into what Robert was saying. Like, we need to look back a little or we won't know how to move ahead. And I just wonder now, like I want to be charitable and I want to say Bonnie Henry is doing her best. But she would never tell us that we could make ourselves stronger and have better immunity if we ate a traditional ancestral diet. She doesn't even talk about that. All that ever comes out is that we are dependent on pharma. We have to get our health from an injection or a pill, and we have to socially isolate and mask, and it's also contrary to the reality of all but the last 100 or so years. And really, it's contrary to only 2 lifetimes. That's how recent this nonsense is. 2 lifetimes. And that is something that we don't have to go forward with, this influence of a corporate takeover of our food and medicine. We can make a choice to go forward with ancestral wisdom and what's real and truthful and honest and proven scientifically and historically that will help us fight against what's coming. And this book, I just got it actually, and I've read 3/4 of it, The Contagion Myth. It's written by the co-founders of the Weston A. Price Foundation. The Weston A. Price Foundation was set up in memory of Dr. Price, who did all this research in the early 1900s. So Dr. Tom Cowan and Sally Fallon Morrell wrote this book, and in it is a gift to all of us that there are key foods that we can eat to help us avoid the damaging effects of EMF, for example, of 5G. And there are measures we can take. We don't have to be victims of what is happening out there if we do a little bit of research and just connect with our local farmers and try our best to get the foods that will truly nourish us. Back in Dr. Price's day, which I said was like less than 2 lifetimes ago, we have to remember that this is new stuff happening to humanity. There was hardly any heart disease. Now it's the #1 killer. There were no epidemics of infant and childhood cancer. No diabetes, and no type 2 diabetes in grade 1 kids, like we see now.
No autism.
Yeah, no deadly food allergies, and autism was basically unknown, unlike today, where we see, 1 in 40 children with autism and increasing day by day. So this contrast between the reality of then and now, that traditional wisdom, and now what we're being fed, is absolutely shameful. And I am ashamed of Bonnie Henry. I am ashamed of Bonnie Henry. She is a physician. She has an oath. She has an oath to be our health protector. And what she's doing is harming. So I am ashamed of her. And I'm looking forward to the day that she has to sit in a court of law and explain to us why she went along and promoted all these measures that are causing suicides, old people in homes dying by themselves, thinking their loved ones don't care anymore and they die alone. This is absolutely cruel and unconscionable, and we cannot stand for it. There's a lawsuit coming in BC, I hope you know. The lawsuit is at the stage where Rocco Galati, who is Canada's top constitutional lawyer, Rocco has already signed agreements and launched lawsuits for Vaccine Choice Canada. Now he has signed an agreement with Action for Canada, a retainer, and they're in the fundraising stage to launch a lawsuit in BC, which has to happen. So if you want to know more about how you can support Vaccine Choice Canada and Rocco Galati and Action for Canada, there's all kinds of information on that table over there. All the links to where you can make connections with them, and please sign up. Please join Vaccine Choice Canada if you can. We need the momentum. We are totally unfunded. We're a membership-driven nonprofit society, and we need the momentum of membership. And you can join for $40 a year or for $5 a year or for whatever you can afford. But please join us. And we have Zoom meetings.
Yes, they're absolutely fabulous.
No, we have them every Tuesday evening and every Wednesday evening. And then special ones once in a while on Saturdays. Yesterday we had one with Rocco Galati on. And it went for 5.5 hours because he had pledged that he would answer every question that came to him, and he did. So if you want to find out more about all of this stuff, just join us. We just need you, and we love the support, and I welcome you to join Vaccine Choice Canada.
Yes.